Welcome to The Writer's Dream. This is a show where authors can talk about how they write their books, how they publish their books, and how they market their books. You can find us right here at ltv-eh.org. And all you have to do is click on the videos, and you will find The Writer's Dream, and you will find all of our episodes. You can also find us on Cablevision, Cablevision Channel 20. It's on at Fridays at 3 o'clock. And if you can't find it on Fridays, it could be on Thursday. Also, we are on Facebook, The Writer's Dream. If you want to be on the show, you can message me through that Facebook page. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our guest. Her name is Lynne Marie, and she's a children's author. But like many authors, she does a lot of different things. She's award-winning. She's multi-published. She's also a speaker. She is a special acquisitions editor at the Little Press. She is the CEO of rateyourstory.org. She's a mentor for the picture book. That's very good, the picturebookmechanic.com, because I want to ask you those questions about how you make a picture book, because I don't do that. And she's the co-host at seasonsofkidlit.com. She's a columnist at Children's Book Insider and writeforkids.org. That's a lot of stuff, Lynne Marie. You must be a busy lady.
It is, but it's all related, so it's like all feeding the same thing. So it's just great to be in that kidlit bubble.
Yeah, so why Kidlit? Why did you choose Kidlit?
Yeah, that's a good question. So when I first got a computer, which was pretty early, like not everyone had them, but my parents bought us all computers, and so I was like, I'm gonna write a screenplay for a romantic comedy, and I was working on four of those, and I guess like a couple years went by. So this is probably like 1990 or 91, and my computer crashed.
Oh dear.
Yeah, and I lost my screenplays. So, all that work, all that research, all that people reading and giving comments was down the drain. And I also had a little one, my son Kevin, and I love to read picture books to him. And I like got smart and I was like, why am I writing these screenplays that I can't print out every change? Why don't I just write children's picture books and print them out? Then I'll never lose them. So it was actually that simple. And I've always been a reader and a writer, and I've always loved kidlit and middle grade books and young adult books and things. So it was actually more natural to me than writing screenplays.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's a particular talent, and I think it's also probably extremely frustrating because in the world of books, you have a lot of competition out there, but you can get your book out there. Whereas a screenplay, you have to go through a whole process of finding a producer, blah, 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 and your screenplay may never be found ever
Oh, I
again.
had no idea what I was doing. I just my son was born, he had mild cerebral palsy and he was born 9 weeks early. So I spent a lot of time watching romantic comedies.
Yeah.
So I just picked that, but it's circuitous, like many of us finding our path is usually circuitous. But yeah, that it just occurred to me, and then I had fun doing it. I had some ideas, but obviously, because 25 years have passed or more since then, obviously, kids' books are where my heart truly is. So.
Yeah, well, that's great. So you have many of them. The one that I picked was Henny Penny and her weather. I can't remember the
Yeah,
rest of it.
Henny
Henny
Penny's,
Penny's Weather Worries. There
yes.
it is. Henny Penny's Weather Worries. And of course, I chose that because I have a science background. So weather worries just appeal to me. And this is a perfect day to talk about weather worries
Oh
because
my
it's
gosh, it is.
blowing 40 miles an hour out there. So tell us about that particular book.
This particular book, also circuitous. when I decided to become a children's author, like pretty much like right after I talked to you that I started writing children's picture books instead, I really realized that that's what I wanted to do. So I went back to college. And I took all the kidlit courses, but I also had some, I had only like 1 year or something, so I also had requirements to fill, and one of them was a social studies, and there really wasn't any really good social studies that pertain to Kidlet, except for indirectly the history of the Salem witchcraft trials, which I knew were started kind of by kids that were very impressionable from their parents, right? So I was like, oh, what the heck, I'll pick that. Plus, I was interested in that topic. So that's something I always wanted to write about. My thesis actually was about that. And it took me until I have to say, maybe like 5 years ago to figure out a way. So in this book, it doesn't really get into the witchcraft trials at all. However, how it does draw upon that is like there's this bad weather, so everybody's in an uproar and scared. You know, kind of like with the land disputes, there's all this problems going on and everybody's all out of sorts. And then it like ignites. And coincidentally, for this one, because this is where it veers, the princess and the pea lost her pea and it hit Henny Penny's head. Then Henny Penny's like, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. So she creates, and here's where the witchcraft trials go in. She creates a mass hysteria.
Okay.
So she get baby bears like saying bears can predict spring, but not a falling sky. Are you sure the sky is falling? And she's like, it fell right on my head. She screamed, and then baby bear runs, and then if you go on, everybody jumps in on this mass hysteria, and
Sounds
so
familiar, doesn't it?
it does. I mean, this happens in classrooms all the time too. But so that indirectly did start from like the seed of it with the hysteria of the Salem witchcraft trials, which isn't all that kid friendly really, but I do want to mention there's someone who really effectively wrote a book about it. It was called It Happened in Salem, and it's pretty decent. It skews a little older, but it's good. But anyway, so that's that. And then I also grew up with weather myths. My mother grew up on a farm and she used to tell us silly things like, oh, the cows are sitting down, it's gonna rain.
Mhm,
And
yeah.
we're like, what? What is that? So, the animals that I chose, like the bear and the cow and the cat and the frog, they all are associated with weather myths. And then, because this is the second book in the Fairy Tale Elementary Schools, series. I added in, some princesses and I think Pinocchio, he's a weather stick. He's related to a weather stick, which was used to predict weather. So that's how I tied that in. So it was just combining a lot of things that I love. So fairy tales, animal characters, weather myths. The I'm fascinated by the Salem witchcraft trials. So all that's in there in a very simple form that at the end has the takeaway value of like she has to check her, like it reminds her to check her head before so there's like a character. So it starts raining again, and she's like, the sky is falling. She starts again, and then the class groans at her and then she's like, she took a deep breath, which is a calming technique, and she checked her head, and then that's the end. So it does have a little social emotional learning included in it. So,
But I think that's what makes a successful kitty or picture book. It makes for a successful one. You have to have a little moral in there somehow,
mhm.
a little lesson, and it's wonderful if you can teach a little history. It's wonderful because the kids, That's how they remember it. If I mean, I went to school in the dark ages, when we didn't even have blackboards. So
I'm
no less whiteboards or smartboards.
not so far behind you though. So
But that's how we learn things. We learn things through rhymes and songs and whatnot, and memorization. And I still remember some of those things. Don't know what I had for lunch yesterday, but I do remember those songs. So this is a question that everybody asks every author. And where do you get your ideas from? I mean, I see how you got your ideas here, but how about some of your other books? Would you like to talk about them?
sure. Okay, we'll go. So here's one that's a little bit fun and also right in time for Halloween. So I never liked the Goldilocks story. I was adopted and basically she was an orphan that wandering around the woods, goes into some stranger's house, which is never a good idea. But then she steals their stuff and which is not nice. And then she gets run off, or actually, depending on what version, she gets killed in some versions. So I'm like, that is the most awful story I ever heard. I don't like it, and I wanted to fix it.
Good for
And
you.
I know, and I know about marketing hooks, so it's like the Goldilocks story had been done so often, and I'm like, what way hadn't they done it? And then so I took out from the library and bought like every variation that I could. I read them all. I wrote notes about what they did, what they didn't do, what ideas I got. And then I was like, oh gosh, there's none about monsters. And so then I started thinking about it a little bit more, and I'm like, that would really, really work. That would have a Halloween tie-in. And I'm like, now I have to find a way to fix this story. So um, what I did is I decided that first of all, instead of making her an intruder, I would I would make her like an answer to their prayers slash nightmares, because like monsters' nightmares are good, right? So I started like one chilly night, Papa sliced finger sandwiches and brewed a batch of alphabet. Oh, it's not saying it, but
No,
alphabet
no, I'm looking
cake.
at
This recipe serves four, just enough for one more. And then I had Mama.
it.
Mama prepared potions in the lab. I wish I had an assistant. And then Baby swept bats from the bell tower. So much time and no one to play with. So right there, I set up and made it different, that they want something and now she's kind of coming in, right? And then I made her Miss Home. So she smells the soup, that the alphabet soup that they left cooking, and she's drawn to it. And then she kind of just comes in, but now it's a lot more it's a more kindly encroachment of their house. And yeah, and I had fun with making like monstrous thing. The chairs are like monstrous and the beds are monstrous. And so that was really fun. And like a sarcophagus, and I did, funny story, I did make this a coffin and
Really?
my editor was like, yeah, we're not going to do that. They said, so
Can't imagine why.
yeah, so I know, what was I thinking? So the illustrator so nicely, who's a friend now, he came up with that. But and then at the end, and this is a spoiler, but I don't think any kids are watching the show. Um, she forms a family with them. So now it's not like she was an intruder who stole, and it was like kind of meant to be. So that's one idea. And then really quickly, this one's also fun. This one, I was in Versailles. We were waiting for our tour guide to get the tickets to go into Versailles, and a rat ran across the courtyard. And I was
In
like,
Versailles, how dare it?
I know. I was like, oh my God, what if that rat is one of the rats of the French Revolution? And then I was like, related rather to. And here's a cute picture of him with the king. And then I was like, Ooh, I was like, well, what if there were rats then and the king had one as a pet and dressed it up and gave it all good food and it slept in a little satin sheets and things. And that's how that story was born. So it's like a riches to rags story about kind of like finding like sometimes we get displaced and we long for our old life, but you have to embrace it. And sometimes we end up where we're meant to be. And it also celebrates a love of storytelling and things like that. So those are some examples. I have more, but I don't know if you want to move on to your
Well,
other question.
um, I think what I want to say is that the original fairy tales, etc., were like Grimm's fairy tales, which he had a perfect name for his fairy tales because they were pretty grim, right?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking that you're the fixer, you're the grim fixer,
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
because you're trying to take these really, some of them, uh, really harsh stories and make them into something that uh, kids can relate to and learn a lesson from. I mean, we learned a lesson from Grimm, but it was pretty grim. So,
Yeah, I mean, even Walt Disney did that. And because I took Italian literature and other literature courses, like I read the original Peter Pan, which is a terrible, awful story, and
yes,
Pinocchio by Carlo Collodi, which is also an awful story. When you read these originals, when you have a love of literature and you're like, oh, I'm going to read the original, you're in for quite a surprise.
the other one is Baum's. Why can't I think of it? The Judy
Oh,
Garland,
The Wizard of
The
Oz.
Wizard of
Yes.
Oz. That's
That's
another
another.
one.
Oh yeah. They're all like that. Like they were all kind of modernized to be palatable.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah, you find
by
that a
normal
lot.
people.
Yeah.
I know. Yes, well, I mean, I ride around my neighborhood. It is Halloween, and I cannot believe the number of people who have every scary movie, fairy tale creature on their lawn. And I'm
Oh,
thinking, they have kids. Have they laundered these like you are? You're laundering those characters to make them less scary for kids. And I think that's a great thing.
I think they're not presented in the original way, so they don't have the effect.
Mhm.
Like the fairy tales that kids know now, like Hansel and Gretel, the parents left them
It's
in the
horrible
woods
too.
to starve, right? But now if you were a character, I don't think you get that those are abandoned children left to die. Like you're just like, oh, they go eat the witch's candy house,
Hmm.
and they outsmart her. Like how wonderful. Like so I don't think they see them or see the nature of the beast exactly, even if they see a beast. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. I also think I don't know. Kids see things differently from adults. I mean, sometimes they see things that we think are perfectly okay. They see them as scary, and then there's just the opposite. I think kids today are much more sophisticated, certainly than my generation. But what I wanted to ask you also is, what's the challenge of putting a picture book together? How do you put a picture book together?
Oh, there's a lot of challenges.
I bet.
I know many people spending years trying to figure that out. I think the first thing, which this is not what people usually want to hear, is to have a salable idea. Which may not be your first or your 10th or your 15th or your 30th idea, but that's why, like, if you really want to make it in this business, you might keep a list of all your ideas. I mean, they could be something you go back to or find a way to change, but think about the one that there's a need for in the marketplace that maybe hasn't been done, that there's a kids need. When there was COVID, kids needed books about like how to entertain yourselves and things like that. So you can kind of respond to um, life around you. You can read and see what's not been done, right? That's another thing. I recommend being well read. So I first like really thinking about your idea, then doing the research. Has the idea been done? How has it been done? Who's done it? Who hasn't done it? Is it universal that everyone should have a book with that? Things like that, and then start off writing it. For example, Moldilux and the Three Scares, I wanted to write that book as I had professed to you, but I didn't write it until all the details came, how I was going to flip it. So I discussed in the beginning how the Three Scares, everybody wanted something. And then, of course, at the end, the mother gets it. She helps her mother in the lab. She's another mouth for her father to eat. She plays game corpse and robbers with her little brother bat, vampire bat. So like now I have like kind of the framework, right? And that one was easier because as much as I don't really like the middle of that story because the monotonous, like she tried the soup. I just added details to make it like fun, like alphabet soup. And then she had the expressions. Some things like that you can't change. So that one was a little bit easier. Um, but if I didn't have that, I would be like, okay, what is the midpoint? What's going to happen? What's going to increase the attention? So I had everyone's kind of desires, motivations, and stakes and things. It made it easy to write when I wrote it.
So it's like you have a story arc, just like somebody who's writing a chapter book. You have to have a story arc.
You have to have a story arc. It's a lot easier than a chapter book, but I'm not saying by any means it's easier. It's
Oh, I
just,
don't think so.
yeah.
I,
And
you
then
have
of
to,
course,
then it's the illustrations,
well,
right?
yeah, but even the economy of language, it's so hard to
Yes.
really put every word on child. But I came from a legal background, so I do find that easier than most. I'm like, if it goes out.
Hmm, hmm.
It's part of it. Like if it doesn't work, it has to do work for the story. So, there's all kinds of things. It's just my best advice is to really have a somewhat formed story before
Hmm.
you start writing, because what happens is people fall in love with their words, and then when they're revising, they're just tweaking words and they're not taking it apart, shaking up or like hitting at it and seeing where it collapses or things like that. Um, and for kids are very important because kids are impressionable. So,
Oh, so certainly, I think that kids who read, um, I think, find themselves more easily. They find what they like, and they also learn a lot. Learning is such an important part of childhood. By the way, do you do your own illustrations?
no, actually, I can draw, but I don't feel like I can draw. I don't feel like I'm trained enough to illustrate a book. I just can draw um, different pictures and different styles, and it takes a lot of dedication. Not that I'm not, but I because I came in with the words, I just never have time to cultivate my art. But no, so my books are mostly traditionally published, but I do have two self-published books that I did publish recently because I do a lot of mentoring for a lot of people, and not all of them choose the path of traditional publishing. And I just wanted to be able to help them at a greater level by having understood the process. So that made me decide to publish it. I'll show the other one too. So I think this is the coloring book version, but The Three Little Pigs in the Rocket Project was my first self-published, um and then Henny Penny's Weather Worries. But I have experience. I worked for two small presses. I actually work for one now, and I interned at three literary agencies. So I immerse myself in Kidlit and I have learned so much. I've been mentoring for 15 years. I've been writing for over 25. I have, publication credits in magazines and stuff. So I just cultivated the right amount of background to mentor people. And again, where I fell short was not having self-published. So I did that.
And also, this helped you to market your books, to be so involved and to
Hmm.
do so many different things. I believe that probably helps you to market things. So let me ask you, what was your best experience in all this stuff that you did? What was the best experience, the happiest one?
Oh my gosh, I don't know if there's just one, but it's like a pie. Like this whole thing is a best experience, and it's like meeting the people, it's touching the children's lives and seeing them smile and reading to them. It's researching and learning and growing and mentoring people and seeing them bloom. And it's real a total thing of all these little slices. It's reading the books myself. Like I love nothing more than to sit here with a pile of books to share. And I do a book chat on Thursdays. You could find Mentor Text Talk on Facebook. It's free. Rate Your Story is a paid membership, but the book chat is free, and I discuss plot and characterization and theme and things like that. So it's all of that. Like I love Thursday nights and book chatting with everybody too. So,
All right, so this was a very interesting interview, and I
oh,
really
thank you.
enjoyed it tremendously.
Oh,
So
so did
best of luck
I.
to you.
Oh, you too.
And I think we have run out of time.